My dear Divyavani viewers, welcome to this program of the Word of God. I have been sharing with you various details about the sacred sites in Jerusalem, and last week I shared with you some thoughts about the resurrection, how the resurrection of Jesus is unique, is distinct, and after that I also shared some thoughts with you about our own resurrection. At the end of the world, we will again rise, and that rising, that resurrection is also something very special because we retain our identity. The body is transformed. We enter into a deathless life eternal. Today, I would like to continue more or less with the thoughts or reflections on the resurrection of Jesus. Today, I would like to share with you the various appearances of the risen Lord. The risen Lord seems to have appeared at least 12 times. According to the New Testament, most of those were recounted in the Gospels themselves, and 5 of those appearances were on Easter Sunday itself. It is worthwhile to note them down because when we reflect about the resurrection, there are lots of things that we can really meditate on. They are not given in the Bible in that order, so we have to take from the 4 Gospels and somehow work out what has happened, what happened when, and so on. And in that way, it is reconstructed. So keep that in mind, and keep in mind what happened on that Easter Sunday morning. Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James, Joanna, and Salome, early morning, go to the tomb. Already they are worried about who will roll the stone. The stone is a very big one, and these 4 or 5 women will not be able to roll it actually. And they thought they will get the help of somebody. But they go. They go early morning with the spices that are needed for once again embalming or to complete the embalming. And as they go, they talk about among themselves about this, and then when they look up, if you read the Gospel of St. Mark chapter 16, 1-8, they look up and they already from far see that the stone is rolled back. So that must have given them a real surprise. Why surprise? One thing is perhaps the body is taken away by somebody. There is another rather shocking aspect. That is, when the Jews especially bury a criminal, and Jesus was actually considered as a criminal, that's why he was crucified, all that anger is once again shown on the dead body. And there are instances where they would cut the dead body into pieces to show their anger. And these women knew that that could be possible. The Jews were so angry with him, and they might even do this. And imagine the women facing such a situation. And with that fear, they go. They go and peep into the tomb. Luckily, there was nothing of that sort. But then the fear is something that is known. And the women, they go and peep into the tomb, and they find that the clothes are all there. The clothes were there, as the body was wrapped and the body just disappeared. In other words, the body seems to have vaporized, leaving the clothes as they were. And with that, the idea of the resurrection already enters into their mind. To add to that, the angels who appear, two angels appear according to one narration, one angel, another one, two angels, whatever it is. The angels will tell them, he is not here, he is risen. You go to Galilee and tell the disciples, including Peter, tell them that he is risen. And the women then understand that Jesus is risen. That feeling that he has risen, that faith then helps them to somehow settle down. But then see what happened. Mary Magdalene didn't know what to do. She understood that Jesus is risen, and she just remains there at the entrance of the tomb. The other women seem to have moved out of the tomb. Maybe they went into the garden to seek whether the body is thrown somewhere there. What all you can imagine, what all they would imagine, because there was all sorts of possibilities. So they went into the garden, looked for Jesus perhaps, talked among themselves, but Mary Magdalene remained at the entrance of the tomb. And then Jesus appears to her. She did not recognize him first, but Jesus called out Mary. And then she recognized the voice, recognized Jesus, and she responded, Rabboni. That was the first appearance of the risen Lord, where Mary Magdalene recognized Jesus, and with that the resurrection becomes a fact for all of them, something that is real. Then Mary Magdalene immediately goes to tell the apostles. She perhaps ran from there, ran to tell Peter and John, whereas the other women still remained in the garden, still talking about what has happened and all that. As they were talking among themselves, Jesus appears to them. And that appearance that Jesus made to the women in the garden, that would be the second appearance of the risen Lord. With that, we have a group of people who have seen the risen Lord. With this group, the fact of the resurrection is widely known. Meanwhile, Mary Magdalene reached Peter and John and told them that Jesus is risen. That made the apostles, Peter and John, to actually run to the tomb, and they did that. Meanwhile, when this is all happening, the Emmaus disciples, they travel, they talk to Jesus because Jesus joined them. So, in that process, when they come back to Jerusalem, the Emmaus disciples come back to Jerusalem and narrate to the 11 apostles about their experience, the 11 apostles tell them, yes, we know Jesus appeared to Peter. In other words, there was an appearance to Peter, we don't know where. That could be considered as the third one, the order need not be exactly in this way, but after the appearance to the women in the garden, perhaps this took place. And therefore, that would be, at least considered for our sake, considered as the third appearance. We will have a short break and then we will resume.